Hey guys, Crewman here with another episode of GPU Market Watch. And this week, the market definitely is interesting. The big events we had this week were the fact that the 4080 Super has been out a week and it is now sold out. And we had a price drop on the 4060 Ti at $343, which sold out. So we know that gamers and miners, but I'm sure it was mostly miners, want it for that price, which is obvious. And we had some price drops on the 7800 XT. So how did this all affect the GPU market? Well, stay tuned and we'll find out. Again, guys, for anybody new to this series, this is episode number 4. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will go over Nvidia and AMD for gaming and for mining. I will first do mining and then I will do gaming. I will have timestamps on each one. Now remember, do not just look at one and assume it applies to the other, because what I would pay for one card in terms of gaming is not the same as what I would be looking to buy multiple cards for GPU mining. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, so let's start with mining. You can see, we'll start off with the 16 series right here. And the 1660 Super did go down in price. I actually did a video on how they were the most profitable GPUs in my farm last week. But that said, I was doing some math today and I've moved these to no buy. Even if you could get them for 75 bucks and you bought a whole 12 card rig for say like $1,100, I don't think it's worth it. I think you'll get better returns elsewhere. And basically the only way I'm making decent returns on mine is just by clenching and solo mining. Now that's easy for me to say because I didn't pay anything for mine, but I would not recommend buying either that or the 1660 Ti, so let's get rid of it. As far as the 20 series goes, we saw last week we had a lot of price drops. They're gone this week. 2060 and the 2060 Super have actually gone up in price. The 2070 and 2070 Super have gone down in price, or have stayed the same, nothing going down. Not enough data on the 2080. And it looks like the only ones that have gone down in price are the 2080 Ti, which is high in price. And I would expect it to drop anyway as the 3070 has, or as the 3060 Ti has dropped a little bit. And the 2080 Super has gone down. I would not buy any of these for mining with the exception of the 2080 Ti. And I very much would not pay a dime over 300 for those. So again, the 20 series, skip them all. Unless you're getting the 2080 Ti, you're better off taking that money and spending it either on the AMD side or on the 30 series. More on that in like 2 seconds. So let's move to the 30 series. We can actually see that while last week they went down a lot in price, this week it seems like they're basically kind of staying where they're at, which means they've probably settled into where the market wants them to be, with the exception of the 3060, which has gone up a decent bit actually, and the 3060 Ti, which has tanked from 275 all the way to about 250. And I think it may go down a little bit more. I'm not sure. That one at 250 is the cannot miss buy this week. I mean, as far as what I would pay for it, it's weird because it's fluctuating so much. I have it here at 275, which is probably what I would have paid. But if you can get it for anything market or less, I would go for it. In the bear market, I was paying about 180 for these things. We're not at bear market pricing yet, but we are kind of close. They're less efficient than they're less efficient than the 3070, and they give you less yield than the 3070. But if you can get these things for $50 to $100 less than a 3070, I would be doing it. And they would be my can't miss buys along with the 4060 Ti. The 3070 is holding at its price. It's kind of like a maybe for me, but probably not if we're being honest, because I would rather pivot to the 4060 Ti, as I've already said, and the 3060 Ti cost a hell of a lot less. So the 3070 is in kind of a weird point where like, I don't think I'd buy it. I know for me, I stopped trying to list mine because I'm not getting the price I want to get. And for what I paid for mine, I just like keeping them for mining. When we go further up the stack, I would avoid basically everything else. The prices are holding with the exception of the 3080, and I would not buy a 3080 for mining when you can basically get a 4070 for the same price. The 3090 has actually gone up. I'm assuming it's just AI, but I would not touch any of the other ones. So basically, for a recap, anything that's not a 40 series, unless it's a 3060 Ti or a 2080 Ti, I would not be buying any of them. Stay away from them. They still cost too much, and they're still not worth buying. Now, let's move on to the 40 series. This is where it gets interesting. As you know, if you've been following my videos earlier in the week, I did 4080 and 4070 Ti super testing. So now I can confidently give you what I would pay and what I would do. And I'm going to go much more in depth on this on a video next week. Don't buy the 4060, just leave it alone. It's actually gone up in price, if you can believe that. The 4060 Ti has gone down on the used market. I would not buy the 4060 Ti on eBay prices. I'd be looking on Amazon. I saw a ton today for under $350. We know that they were, for a period of about 5 or 6 days, you could get them all day long for about $340. They are still $380 on some sellers at Amazon. I would be looking to spend less than MSRP, so anywhere between $350 to like $370 is a sweet spot. I'd be scooping them up all day long. They're still a must buy for me. If I had the money, I'd be buying them, but I don't, so I'm not. But that said, I have a full 12 card rig and I love it. If you can replace, if you have money you've been holding off on, just buying GPUs with, use them and buy 40 series. The 4070, as far as mining, if you can get it anywhere between $400 to $450, I would buy it. I wouldn't pay any more than that. I'd go further up the product stack. You get better value. The 4070 Super for MSRP, I would get it. New only. Don't touch this thing on the used market. People are still trying to scalp them. The 4070 Ti, it's still high used. New. If you can get these for anywhere between $630 to $650 used, I would buy them. They would be a can't miss buy at that price for me. But it looks like they're going up on the used market. So, like I said, $600 to $650, can't miss buy, just like the 4060 Ti. The 4070 Ti Super, I think it's a buy, but only if you value density over anything else. It used to be what the $800 4070 Ti was. So if you value density, you buy it. If not, I think you're better off going for the 4070 Super or looking at the 4070 Ti. But I think it has a place in terms of density. I think it's worth it. Another one, the 4080, it's a maybe. It's weird. It still costs too much new, and the used prices are still kind of eh. If you can get them for $850, you buy them and you grab them all day long. I think they're a fantastic value at $850. I would not buy them any more than that. And then the 4080 Super and the 4090, leave them alone. Let gamers have them, or AI. Don't buy them. Other cards you don't buy, the 10 series and the 1650s, leave them alone. Don't bother with them. All right, so let's move on to the AMD stack. The prices have gone down, but I think with where the 40 series is in value, I can't really recommend many AMD cards right now. On the very, very low end, we've got the 5600 XT that's actually gone down in value. You can get it for anywhere from 80 to 100. I think it's a buy. It's a must buy. I think you will not get better value at that value, especially with how good they do on Kapow and how they're decent at core algorithms. So 57 or 5600 XT is a must buy. Thank God, the 5700 XT has gone down in value, about 160, but leave them alone. The 5700 and 5700 XT, they just cost too much. Don't buy them. As far as the 6000 series, I think the 6600 and the 6600 XT cost too much. If you can get them for maybe 100 to 120, I think they become must buys. But for market, I do not think you buy them. I think they need to go down further. And then anywhere up on the stack, just don't buy them. I think there's potential at $300 for the 6800 XT. Other than that, I think you go to the 40 series. I just don't think any of these are worth buying. While the Radeon 7 is great value at its price, they break too easily. Don't buy them. So that's basically mining. In a nutshell, essentially, if you're anything under $200, you want to stay with a 5600 XT. Anywhere over that, at 250, you want to go with a 3060 Ti. And then honestly, anything 300 or above, you should be buying 40 series, as there's no value anywhere else that compares to the 40 series. And I don't know how long this 40 series value is going to last, because all the smart miners who can afford it are scooping them up. So again, really, you want to avoid basically anything that under $200 it's not a 5600 XT, and anything under $300 it's not a 3060 Ti, and you want to go 40 series. All right, so now that we've gone over mining, let's talk about gaming. Now remember, the numbers here are different than the mining numbers. Now, obviously, the market prices are not different, but what I would pay and if I think they are buys or not, and I will explain why. So let's start with Nvidia. The 980 Ti is a bust anymore. I don't think it's worth it unless you can get it for like the price of a bar tab. Then why not? The 1070 is still my must buy, can't miss pick, because it's so cheap. You can get it for between 80 to 100 bucks. I would jump on it. It's not as efficient as, like, say, the 1660 Super or the 27 or the 2060 Super, but it's a lot cheaper. And when you're in that low of a budget, I think FPS matters, and I don't think efficiency matters when you're pinching pennies like that, as you won't be gaming with it enough to offset the efficiency cost. I would skip basically everything else. I think the 1650, if you could get it for like $80, might be worth it, but they're a little bit higher than that. They're like $100. I would honestly I'd probably want to pay like 70, as I don't really think it's got that much left in it. But I think if you can get it for $70, I think it'd be worth it. 1660 Ti at $100, I would get, but I haven't seen them for that. Even market, it's probably okay. So for me on the low end, at least in Nvidia side, it would be something like either the 1070 or like the 1660 Ti. But I wouldn't want to spend more than $100 on a low end 1080p. Well, low end when I say like a mid-range 1080p GPU that you play like, medium settings. Let's move to the 20 series. Really, I don't think any of them are worth buying right now. Maybe the 2070 Super, if you can get it close to like 140, but that's well below market, so I kind of doubt it. -1. And this one, I think I actually need to get one. So if anybody has one that they'd like to sell me for a reasonable price, as I need it for content testing, is a 2070 Super. I think if you can get it for anywhere between $200 to $240, I think it is the best bang for your buck, under $400, and it would be one of my can't miss picks. With that and one from the AMD side, which ironically is going up in price. So I honestly think the 2080 Super is my can't miss, under $400, under $300. Anywhere above 300, I would probably stick with the 2080 Super and try to save up some money to get to like the $400 range, where you start to have a lot of decisions that you can make. As far as the 30 series goes, don't buy any of them for gaming, minus the 3080. If you can get it around $400, it has gone down in price, which is nice. And the 3080 Ti, I think that's also a can't miss pick. I think if you can spend between $400 and $550 on a GPU, you can get a 4K capable 1440p perfect GPU that will last you for years. And you can take your pick from Nvidia or AMD. But I think anything less than that, I would just hold off, and I would probably honestly just stick to the 2080 Super and save up until you can get more until you can spend more money, because then you don't really gain that much value for performance between like $250 to $400. All the other 30 series you want to avoid. The 40 series, the 4060 and the 4060 Ti are not real GPUs. Leave them to miners. Just stay away from them. Even at like $350, I would not buy a 4060 Ti. I know some gamers have. I do not think I would do it. I would probably just be getting a 2080 Super, or just wait, because if you could spend $350 on a 4060 Ti, you could spend $400 on a 3080. The 4070, unlike mining, this one just depends really, because it's basically a 3080. So it comes down to what do you value? I think the 3080 is better than a 4070 as far as gaming goes, and I think you save some money. And when you start to save like $100 or so, you can put that money towards like a processor or a case or like a motherboard. So that money does matter. When we get to the higher end of the 40 series though, there's something for everybody. The 4070 Super at $600 versus the 4070 Ti, I think it's just the one that you can get the better value on. Either one of those, that is essentially like buying a 3090 Ti. It'll last you for a long time, and you can play basically in any resolution you want. A 4070 Ti Super though is basically like a 4080. So once you get to like the $300 price point, or I'm sorry, $800, you're in a 4K capable like Halo product, in my opinion. So it kind of makes it like, for me, essentially, it's like you can either spend $400, then 600 gets you a lot. But if you can go up to 8, obviously I say if you can keep going up, but it really seems like 800 is the very sweet spot for like 4080, or for like 4K gaming, because like a 4070 Ti is 8103, which is essentially, I'm sorry, a 4070 Ti Super is 8103 and is basically a 4080 as I've tested. And a 4080 at $850 would be incredible value. That's what I paid $825 for mine. I think it's an incredible miner, and it's an incredible gamer. The 4080 Super at $1,000, it is 7900 XTX value. So if you wanted that, they're sold out right now, and they're sold out for a reason. I don't think miners bought them. I think gamers bought them. And it's basically like getting 4/5 of a 4090 for $800 less, which you could basically build a whole PC for the price of a 4090 and have a 4080 Super in it. So great value. The 4090 is only good in gaming if you're like me and you have to spend the best because you have to have the most frames per second at 4K unaltered, as in no upscaling or anything. However, I paid way less than $1,800 for my 4090. But there's a reason to buy all of them. So like I said, I don't think you can go wrong. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them, from the 4070 Super all the way up to the 4090. I think you will hit your maximum price. I think the three areas you will hit your maximum value, though, is like the $250 2080 Super range, the $400 to $500 3080 to 3080 Ti range / 4070 Super range, and finally at $800 at the 4070 Ti Super. I think that will be your best value, especially in the Halo area. But obviously you can spend a little more and get better performance if you could find them. But I honestly would think the 4070 Ti Super, I actually need to change these now that I'm talking about it. This one is just going to go to good, and I think this one's going to go to my best value for gaming. All right, so now let's move to AMD side. AMD side, I think it's pretty simple, honestly. 5600 XT at the bottom end is incredible. If you can get one for gaming, do it. They're great. They will last forever. I don't think anything else is worth buying until you get to the 6700 XT, but you have to pay like $200 to $250 for it. Otherwise, get the 2080 Super, but if you can get it, it's worth it. I think the 6800 and the 6800 XT are somewhat of a rival to the 3080. It just depends on how you value ray tracing and the 4070. I think the can't miss values here, though, like it definitely feels like that $400 to $500 550 is where you get the best value. And you're talking about the 6900 XT or the 6950. I adore those GPUs. I own one for gaming, and I would never look back. The 7000 series, I don't think you really see any value at this point. Their prices are just too high. I think the 7700 XT at like 350, which briefly was at, could be interesting. And I think if you can get the 7900 XTX at like 800 to 850, I think it's better than the 4070 Ti Super. I actually need to do some testing on that. But I think other than that, I don't know if I would buy any of these other ones at their price points. But I definitely am a little ray trace biased. But that's not to say I don't believe in these GPUs. So I think the 7900 XTX now has a problem where the MSRP needs to go down. At $800, it is back to where it used to be, where like it could be the best value Halo SKU, but you can't price this thing anywhere near the 4080 Super, or even honestly the 4070 Ti Super. I think it even loses to that. Again, I have to do some testing, but I think you really have to drop this thing down to 800 for it to have a chance anymore. And I think AMD needs to do price cuts on the 7000 series across the board, or it went from being like, okay, so you don't have ray tracing, but you get better value, to now you just don't have ray tracing and you don't have the better value perspective anymore. So I think that is a problem for AMD. Even though they have more VRAM, I don't think it matters, and I think people are overvaluing VRAM when they don't have to, which is the topic of another video, probably in the next week or two. I'm very behind, and I got a lot of content to get out in the next 2 weeks. So anyway, let's go back to recap. At $100 range, under $150, either a 5600 XT or a 1070, you can't go wrong. I think at the $250 range, you're looking at either a 2080 Super or a 6700 XT if you can get them for that much. And then after that, I think you don't do anything until the $400 range, where you're looking at either a 6800 XT, a 3080, or a 4070. And then I think the real value you start to hit is at $500. And I don't think you need to go any higher, when you can either get a 6900 XT or a 2080 Ti or a 3080 Ti. After that, if you're looking for new, the best value is at the 40 series and all SKUs. I think the 4070 Ti Super is the best value. But depending on what you want, there's something for every price point as far as gaming goes. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. We are so close to 3,000. I actually just checked. I need like 20 more or 80 more. We can do it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of GPU Market Watch. It looks like the market is starting to stabilize. I think we have another few weeks of the 40 series, It just depends on how much the 40 series GPUs drop in price, or and if they don't, I think you'll see the market stabilize. And I do predict we will see a market increase probably within the next month. So if you can buy GPUs now for either for gaming or for mining, this is the time to do it, because I do not think GPUs will go any cheaper than they are now. But I guess we'll find out. This is just my opinion. I thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe. Croup Man